the 260th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the first week of April 2017. This episode is titled Learning Roadmap. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Arkus, and we are hiring. If you are a Salesforce consultant and want to be part of a unique and growing company, send your resume to careers@arkusinc.com. That's ARKUSINC.com. I'm your tired host, Jason Howe, and joining me, co-host, not as tired, Justin Edelstein. How you doing?
You barely got your entire name out.
Really?
It was like you ended prior to the last couple of little letters in there.
Jason Howe.
Yeah, it sort of trailed off
Kind of
into
the way I
the
feel.
ether. I'm doing all right. It's pretty nasty outside.
Yep.
You could say it's cloudy.
It's rainy.
Stormy.
Here in the...
The Arkus clouds have rolled in already.
Yes. It is pouring here in New York.
It's also cold.
Is it? What's
Yeah,
in the... Oh,
it's cold.
40? 46 isn't that cold.
That's cold for rain.
Okay, well, it's not really that cold, but whatever. If it gets any colder, it turns to snow.
That's what I'm saying. It's cold for rain.
No, I'm just glad I'm not out there.
I was out earlier. It was not fun.
Haven't left the house.
Well, yeah, you have. You're in my house.
Haven't left the building.
You're in-
Actually, I walked
you're
the
in
dog.
Podcast studio number 3.
All right. Why don't we get to our agendas today?
Wow, you're just in a rush. You just want to get through this, huh? Should we stop now? I mean, this is good. People downloaded it.
Yeah, that was good. 260. Done. We could do like 7 podcasts right now.
People downloaded it.
Did you download? I think, would they download like
I mean, you
4
got the
minutes?
whole. You got the whole. It was brought to you by Arkus in there.
Yep.
That's all it's really necessary, right?
Let's move on. We have some blog posts to talk about. We have one that went up last week by Amy Bucciferro called Salesforce Learning Tools for Every Style. It's on blog.arkusinc.com, of course. And she takes a different take on, this came from her experience starting, I guess, in Destination Success. But really thinking about, we actually talked about it before she wrote it, but talking about how different people have different learning styles, right? Are you a hands-on person? Are you an in-class person? Are you a watch videos online? Are you a read and understand? As I've been doing some learning recently with a little person in my life, not you, but other little person in my life, I've been noticing like you learn differently. Anyways, this blog post is really kind of, and it's obviously more about Salesforce learning, so it's not necessarily like how to spell things. But she kind of goes through and in a very Amy way, breaks out these different categories sort of like as a style, like saying sometimes at 1 a.m. I get the urge to go learn something. I don't get urges at 1 a.m. to learn things.
I'm usually asleep.
Yes.
Or it's Friday or Saturday and learning things at 1 a.m.
So what are you? Are you like
I knew you were going to ask what I am. I feel like I'm in the middle. I need to be hands-on. Like I need to touch the thing. I can't just watch a video about it or read a book. But I also like to be shown at least once. Like I can't like Trailhead's good, but it's not. I guess what I'm trying to say is I like to have someone show me how to do the thing, then I do the thing, and then I have to do the thing again on my own almost immediately afterwards in a practical way. So I like to learn in a way that I can then apply whatever I've learned immediately to something that's real.
okay?
Otherwise, it doesn't necessarily sink in.
I'm let me just go figure it out. But if I need help, I'm a hands-on, like I want to take it apart, I want to look at it. And then once I've done that and kind of I've come up with how I think it should work and then I want someone to fill in the pieces. I've been playing with a new piece of software, not playing with, but whatever, installing and configuring a new piece of, a third-party application for Salesforce. And it works with another third-party application. So you kind of have Salesforce with a third party with another third party. And like there's just little things you start to pick up. I understand the concepts. I know I'm trying to get from point A to point B. But I know I dig in first and then I go back and say, okay, I figured this part out. Now I just need this one thing. What's the one setting I got to put right there and tell me why, then show me a doc, right? I kind of just want good documentation at that point, which generally is not. Like generally documentation is really terrible. I will say when you're picking, we'll talk about my pick too. It's kind of interesting, but it's a side thing. But when you're picking software, that should be something you think about. When you're picking software, it's like, how's their documentation?
Right.
And, I know community is a big thing. I think community is big. Like Salesforce, we have a great community. People will just answer your questions. But, like, do they have good docs? Like, go into their help docs and really look around. Is it well laid out? If you had to read through it, would it make sense? Salesforce, for all its faults and all its whatever, they actually do very good documentation. And it's consistent, and they keep it updated.
And it's been that way for a long time.
And it's thorough.
It's something they pride themselves on. I remember back in the early days of us using it and relying on release notes as like how to do the thing.
Right.
I think release notes are a little different now than they used to be. It used to be more like, here's this feature and here's the 7 steps to setting it up. I don't know. They're exactly the same now than they used to be. Now they more.
Well, when you're starting like 380 pages,
I think they're more fluffy now and like explaining and like more use case driven as opposed to like, here's the feature, here's how to set it up, figure out how you're going to use it.
Right. They could definitely take some of the fluff out of release notes. I feel like when I start to read them, I start to have deja vu because I kind of, here's what's in the notes. Here's a summary of what's in the notes. Here's the details of what's in the notes. And here's a sub-summary of what's in the subsection of the details.
Now here's the note.
And then here's the note. It's a lot of like table of contents. And I find as I'm reading through, I'm like, oh, come on. Stop telling me about the thing that you're about to tell me. I want just show me the facts, ma'am.
That should be a Chrome extension.
It should, just to take out all the stuff in there. So anyway, interesting blog post. Amy, thank you. She likes to learn in class, just to let you know, for all you who didn't know.
Good.
Next up, Ashley Leifer and a very specific use case in Salesforce data migration from Razor's Edge.
Right. So if you're a nonprofit out there listening and you're on Razor's Edge and you're contemplating the move and the migration to Salesforce, and in particular to the Nonprofit Success Pack, have a read.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nice tidbits in here. We talk about terminology and how one thing translates to another, suggested steps on how to get the data that's relevant from Razor's Edge into Salesforce. I'm not certain if this is in here. I mean, she has other things to consider for sure. I like to, when talking to people about migrations from any system into Salesforce, I like to really ask very hard questions about why certain pieces of data need to come into Salesforce.
Right.
Why does the activity that says left voicemail from 7 years ago need to be migrated into Salesforce? Do you need that? Is that relevant?
No data gets left behind.
Yeah, I like to ask harder questions about that rather than just take, 3 million activities and shoving them into Salesforce. It's like,
in an org today, 2.8 million activities.
Fantastic. Good for them.
2.8 million.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot of tasks.
Just tasking it up.
Just, getting things done with the tasks.
Yeah, no, I was talking to a organization the other day, and there was lots of discussion about bringing some data across, and I was like, I just don't think it's worth the time. I think the point I was making was the data that I'm going to bring across is legacy data, but there's no need to transform it and make it better than it was. Like, leave it the way it was. It's legacy. You're now trying to take legacy data and actually make it better as the sun almost comes out.
It's nice out now.
Yeah, the sun's like almost gonna come
You
out.
know what happened? We started talking about moving from Razor's Edge to Salesforce, and it just got nice out.
Yeah, that is not a thing. So yeah, that's anyway. That was a conversation. I was like, why don't you just bring the data in? It is as good as it was, but don't try to transform it so it's better than it was. Like, bringing in a name is a name, bringing in a task is a task, bringing in an organization, a constituent, a donation, whatever. But bringing in something and then making it like 4 times better than it was with all the complexity, I don't know. So I tried to talk them out of it. I think I did talk them out of it, which is always good. All right. So those two are up on blog.arkusinc.com. I did notice that for next week, while I will not be on the podcast because I'll be away, I will either been downloading a lot of podcasts, which is fun. I don't know who's up on the blog. Oh, yes, I think next week. So when I come back, there'll be another blog post on Destination Success because that's what he's doing on. All right, what else we have next? We have the first Salesforce Equality Awards.
Yeah. So Salesforce this week was in DC for a world tour, and they took the opportunity to do their first ever Equality Awards. And
Equality.
That's what I said, Equality.
Oh, they said quality.
Nope, Equality. And they had 4 special, I guess, people who they've given the awards to or recognized as leaders in the space. So they recognized Billie Jean King, who has a little bit of a special place in my heart. I'm a big fan of Billie Jean King. Lily Ledbetter, Patricia Arquette, and Mary J. Blige. They were all awarded for their efforts to further equality for all. And I think that it's fantastic that Salesforce, as a large software company, gets together with, other businesses, government, nonprofit leaders, you name it, and is fighting for equality amongst humans.
It's interesting. Salesforce has always been sort of an enigma that way, and again, they've done so well. It is something I've always thought was a really, talk about razor's edge. They're sort of putting themselves from a technology company into being a political stand. And, we always talk about Dreamforce, and there have been some Dreamforces where they have openly mocked,
in an awkward way,
political viewpoints.
Yep.
Which, from a, if you believe in that viewpoint, I'll tell a fun story, but if you believe in that viewpoint, fine, it's funny. But we've seen our clients actually get upset. Like clients with us leave the Dreamforce floor, leave the keynote, say, I cannot listen to this. This is so upsetting.
I'm at a tech conference to learn about the technology that I am paying for from this technology company.
Right.
I do not need to hear or care about their political leanings.
And I think I always thought it was strange. I always thought it I guess it does cross the line. I happen to generally be on the same side of where the line that they're drawing. Like they're here, and I'm kind of politically, I'm more aligned to where they are. I don't know what it would feel like to go to an Amazon conference and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I want to learn about Amazon, AWS, and like cloud computing, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they bring out the other side, let's say, that I don't believe in and started spouting off. I think I would be offended. I think I know people in your life who would lose their stuff. So I just don't know why. I don't know why they tie it together, except for this is wonderful stuff, right? This is where you take the advantage of it and say, hey, we are going to make a statement. They pulled out of cities, they pulled out of states. North Carolina last year. They went to battle with
Indiana.
Indiana. I mean,
the exact target was headquartered and still is headquartered in Indiana. But when our now vice president was the governor of that state, they went to battle with him about some of his policies that he was signing into law.
Yeah, it feels I don't know. They do a good job. They stay right. I mean, I think they're right on the edge, and at some point, it's gonna. Maybe it already has. Maybe some big company didn't sign because they pissed off some CEO who's like, "Yeah, I don't believe in that, and I'm not signing with you." It's possible.
Very
Anyway,
possible.
but when they do right, I like it, and I appreciate it. So interesting. So this will be a. Do you think there'll be a yearly thing?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I would
like
think it would be. It's the first inaugural.
the
I would
inaugural.
hope it would happen again. And they had some pretty big names there outside of the honorees. So good for them. I mean, they were in DC, so they had the opportunity to grab some leaders from government and have them speak as well.
Excellent. Next up, I don't know. Geez, this is like getting us a little. This is getting to get some.
I just thought
fire and brimstone.
There's no fire and brimstone. I just thought this was interesting. So Salesforce has published and has published their Lightning Roadmap so that you can look at it as an end user, as an admin, as somebody investigating their move to Lightning experience, or even someone who's making a purchasing decision and being demonstrated everything in Lightning. But having, been at a company previously, and you're like, this doesn't look like Salesforce at all. I remember it looking completely different. Why does it look like this? And they're like, oh, this is the new latest and greatest. Here's the roadmap, right? So this roadmap covers winter 17, spring 17, which we're currently in, summer 17, which is the next release, and future, which is like, we kind of plan on doing this. We're not going to tell you when. Right.
What it doesn't include is the not going to do it.
It doesn't include the not going to do it.
Work.com is not on here.
No, you're not going to stop it. Everything on here is on the roadmap,
right?
Is what is the point. And it has a checkbox in one of 4 boxes. Winter, spring, meaning been delivered, summer, coming in the next release, or future, like we'll get to it.
So if you want to find out something so you can use this as the way to say, if it's not on this roadmap, no one's going to do it.
Potentially.
What was the one I ran into the other day and I was having an absolute conniption about?
Was it contact roles?
No, it was list actions.
In mass. You know what's weird? Because you said that. I looked on here and list mass actions are on here. Winter 17. But I don't believe that they actually... What's not on here is list custom mass actions.
Right.
Because you can be on a list view of contacts and you can add them to a campaign. You can be on a list of leads and change their owner.
Well, list mass action change owner is summer 17.
It's a separate.
Right. But I'm saying... That's misleading.
Custom list views are not on here. Like custom buttons on a list view to do something. Well,
then look above it. Lightning mass action. Act on multiple records from a list view using a lightning mass action
is
future.
In the future. Correct.
That's custom.
That's going to be the answer. That's a future thing.
There are some things that I just stumble across and I go, how?
Well, most of those buttons, the list view buttons, are JavaScript buttons, and those just aren't supported.
No, there's the ones that are not even. There were a couple that just don't exist, and remember we had to go into console to find them. They didn't exist until we went into console, and then there they were. It was the cases one. It wasn't It wasn't in normal.
Right, like change owner or change status, something like that.
Which that's not JavaScript. That's
no, I'm talking
function.
Custom buttons. Custom list view button is generally a JavaScript button.
That was just weird. Like,
yeah,
stuff that's like in classic. Then it was in console, and you're like, okay, well, it's in console, but console's not like for everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what's nice is that sometimes with certain features, they are sort of telling you, we're not going to do this as a feature to feature. Like, there won't be parity from Classic to Lightning. We're doing this differently. So, account contact roles is the example.
Right.
Yeah, the answer to that is use contacts to multiple accounts.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah, so that's like the answer, right? It's not necessarily like, yeah, account contact roles will come at some point. It's no, there's a different feature for that now.
Way.
So
right.
do that this
way.
The
migration from that, which I just did the other day as a test in our org, is not, it's not straightforward though. It's not a, because if you have contact roles, because in contact roles, you can have a contact with multiple roles.
Yeah, well, you could essentially have 2 rows of data for the same one contact.
But you can't have that in multiple contacts. So you got to do some data manipulation to get that to work. It's not very simple. And then there's stuff that I ran a report in Salesforce One Mobile, and it said, cannot run this report because of conditional formatting.
Oh.
I was like, what?
What? Who?
Why are you even...
your conditional format, it broke it. Okay. So there's some interesting ones in here.
What
sales that are coming in summer. So like calendar scheduling. External calendar.
It's back.
Well, external calendar required to me means get on the Lightning for Gmail or Lightning for Outlook train, because we're going to be using that calendar. Like, we may actually just leverage that count. This is a total guess. I'm looking at the roadmap and totally guessing.
Safe harbor. Forward-looking statements.
To me, that sounds like extra, like calendar scheduling and event invitees. I feel like you can, from inside Salesforce, if you've got that sync hooked up at the server side level, you may be able to you're leveraging your already existing calendar.
Where's field audit history?
That one. Look.
There's so many.
Email classic templates available in Lightning coming soon.
Field history tracking summer
coming soon to an org near you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's, again, I say this every podcast because I'm repetitive, but I think I need to get beyond winter. Like, I need to get into winter to be like, okay, what's really missing now? Because there's just so much. It's almost too many things to even consider.
Some of these things I wish they would just stop. Like opportunity splits.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know that. I know 0 orgs that use opportunity splits, and it's also not something that would be terribly difficult to do yourself.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, stage history is coming in summer. So
that seems insane. That's not there.
Get ready.
Omni Service Console coming. The future ones that scare me because it's like future, but
you never know when that's going to actually be.
Right. Oh, look, person accounts set up in Lightning. Oh, it's coming to an org near you. So yeah, everybody should go read this, look at it. I hope they update it. They should update it now and at least put in winter, because they should be thinking about winter at this point, right? They have summer locked.
Because I got the announcement on summer already, like pre-release, get ready, summer. I'm like, whoa, already?
Yeah, I know.
I guess so.
It's coming. All right, well, we'll move off that one, and then you have one. You just have a what? What is this?
Oh, I just have a what? What? Yeah, I got an email today with big all caps attention, update to permission set metadata deployment in API 40 with summer 17, which actually got me to read the email,
right? Because you're a big fan
of permission sets, and this is a good thing. So in version 40 of the API with summer 17, you will be able to, in a change set, you'll be able to include a permission set. You could always deploy a permission set, but if you were deploying a permission set, the only things that were actually being deployed were like the system permissions in it. So you could include an object and a tab and access to 72 fields.
Right.
But if that object and that tab and those 72 fields weren't in the change set with the permission set, you weren't getting it. It would just go over, and any system permissions would be there, and you'd see your permission set, and then you'd assign it to somebody, and then they would be like, where's that object? You'd be like, what do you mean?
Right.
And then you'd look, and you'd be like, why is this permission set empty? Oh, because I didn't include all those things in the change set. That's going to go away. So basically, it's going to have this retrieval metadata layer that allows it to grab CRUD and Apex and all sorts of things that are included with the perm set, which I'm pretty excited about. It makes doing a release a lot easier, that's for sure. You don't have to include a bunch of stuff that you don't really need in your changes.
Right.
Change sets themselves are going to change quite a bit over the next year or so with DX, but we'll get to that when that really rolls around.
When it happens. Yeah. I'm a big fan of permission sets, just saying.
Me too.
Sometimes it's a little discussion around, well, which way should I do it? I did log into an org with 40 custom profiles, though, and it brought me back. Way back.
40 is a decent number.
40 custom profiles.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's too many.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm my next blog post that I'm thinking about writing is permission sets in a Lightning world.
Okay.
Because while they're still extremely powerful and do the things that they do and even can control whether someone can see Lightning or not, there are now more things that to me are abstracted from that layer and are set more at the permission or at the profile layer, like the page.
Right.
The Lightning page itself is like for a record type for an app, for a profile. How about a permission set? It's the same thing with like page layout assignments never being in permission sets.
Right.
I imagine it's the same problem, but it's like, oh, now there's this whole new layer of stuff I need to think about when it comes to permissions and permission sets.
So many things I need to think about.
Oh, man.
Makes my head hurt.
So many things.
Speaking of things I need to think about.
Yeah.
Next week, nothing.
No, you'll be on vacation.
Vacation.
In Mexico.
Mexico. That's as far as I want to let you know. Not going to let anybody know farther than that. Yeah.
Huh? Heard there might be a wall built between the time that you leave and the time you get back.
Too soon.
You might not be able to get back in.
Too soon. Let's make a pick. Let's make 2 picks. Let's make a CloudFocus app pick of the week.
Okay. So
CFAPW.
Okay. Hashtag space CF.
Oh, that's way too soon.
Okay. So
I don't think our listening audience knows all of our internal jokes that only you and I know. Even the partner shall not be named doesn't know, and we keep doing it to him, and he doesn't like it.
He doesn't even know what it is.
And he's like, whatever.
What is hashtag space something?
Whatever.
Percentage sign.
I think the last episode he's listened to, like Panago.
Never.
NGO Disconnect.
Never. I don't even think he listened to that. He just knew the title.
All right. Go ahead. Make your pick.
All right. I'm picking an app called Config Workbook. So this to me is like the evolution of an app that I think I picked many, many years ago called Easy Describe.
Yes.
Which was my go-to for documentation.
Used it the other day.
Well, Config Workbook kicks it right in the butt.
Really?
Really.
Oh, now I gotta look at this.
Config Workbook is fantastic. You can extract literally almost anything from the metadata of the org. You can get it right into Excel if you want. You can do field level security, profile, permissions across objects, fields, layouts, everything. Permission set assignments, Apex, Visual Force. You can do all these different types of analyses and reports. And I used it the other day because I have an org that I'm working with a client that has maybe like 30 or so custom objects that we've built.
Right.
And we need to help them define 6 or 7 different profiles. So I used it to just pull these objects out into a spreadsheet and all of the fields on all of the objects, and then very easily laid it out for them to say, all right, here's the 6 or 7 profiles.
Right.
Put like an edit or not, or an like an E or an R. Basically set it up like, tell me if they should see this or not.
Right.
But in a very easy way so that they can understand and just go through
and
fill out like how I should set up the profiles from just from an object level permissions. So it was really easy to do because if you can imagine trying to pull out, 20 to 30 objects with all the fields and get them into a format that makes sense.
Right.
This made it very easy.
Nice. Well, I can't wait. I'm going to use this.
It's really good.
I have a client to use this with.
Really good. So config workbook by config workbook. I don't know.
What?
Don't know. But that's it. It's on the App Exchange and it's free.
Nice. I'm going to make a pick that's not free. Well, it is free.
Totally free.
But I'm making
if
it
you put money in it.
But I'm making it not based on. I'm making it based on a journey. So
way back when.
Well, a couple weeks ago, the reality is I had some extra money sitting around from a claim and from an insurance claim, and I was like, well, it's just sitting there. It's like not doing me anything. And I have multiple checking accounts, and it was sitting there just basically making no money. So I asked you, and the partner should not be named. I'm like, hey, what do you guys use? What do you use for savings accounts? And you're like, oh, here, we use this company. And I was like, oh. And, oh, what's the rate? And you said, oh, it's this. I was like, oh, all right. So then I went Google, I'm going to go find rates. And I found one that was much better. Like I found it was a better rate, a better savings account rate. And I was like, oh, and I looked at it. And then, because my instinct was, well, why don't you just find the best rate and move your money there and, let it make you a little bit as it just sits there waiting for you to do the work you need to do. So, but then I took the other 5 minutes and I thought, okay, but what about all the other stuff you use? Like you use Quicken. Yeah, that's right, I use Quicken. And Quicken downloads all my transactions. Does this thing work with Quicken? This other company? Oh, no, they don't. Like you like security and two-factor. Does this company use two-factor? I don't know. Oh, you also like apps. You like having apps on your phone and you like having mobile apps and Touch ID. Do they do that? Oh, I don't think they do. You use File This. I'm giving off all my great picks, but File This is a great service that pulls down your statements and throws them into Dropbox or into Drive or wherever you want. So you never have to go get a statement ever from a place ever again. Does this company, do they have it for the company with the better interest rate? No, they don't. So I started to think about all the things that, beyond just the basics of a interest rate and all the stuff that makes my life easier. And so I went back and said, I'm going to go with Justin, the partner. And you've been using this company. I think you told the partnership named, right? And I think your dad probably told you to use this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, we were on one other one, and then we switched to this one.
We were on ING before that.
The ING, and then this was a long time ago back when before the crash, these online savings accounts that don't have brick and mortar shops were giving you between 4 and 5% interest rates on your savings accounts, which was great because it's well, we don't have branches,
right,
or ATMs or anything. We're just an online bank.
So anyway, I picked Ally Mobile, and I'm making, I guess, Ally Mobile the pick because it is an app. It's a very well done app. I have relationships with many different banks, and I use all of their apps. I have probably 6, and one of them doesn't have one. It always bugs me that this one institution doesn't have a mobile app, but everybody else does. And I'll say Ally's is pretty good. But I would say the whole thing is pretty good. That's what I've been, and I was, as you and I used to work at a bank, and we used to build these interfaces to do these things. You can tell they're an online-only bank. Why can you tell it? Because they built it to be online-only. They built it with good interface and with friendly, and it's well laid out, and they didn't have to have 1,700 banners up and down the left-hand side. The difference between logging into Chase and logging into Ally Mobile is, or even Amex. Amex is just all over me, just throwing things in my face. Chase has all this stuff, and here's your points, and it's because there's so much to it. But this Ally Mobile's here's your account, here's your balance, here's some transactions. That's it, right? And I love that they have at the top the wait time for a call or a chat. It's 1 minute, it's 2 minutes. That type of stuff is so. Again, it's if you took a bank and said, I'm going to start a bank, I'm going to make it online only. I don't have to worry about, core interfaces or stuff we've had for years and years and years. So, the rates are out there. It's 1%, which is, again, nowadays it's better than most places. But I was at 0.03%. So going from 0.03 to 1 is it's a little bit better. But anyway.
You're crushing it right now.
I'm crushing it. So, but I would say that's when I started to realize that all that other stuff, does it work in Quicken? Does it work in file this? Does it have a good mobile app? Does the mobile app have Touch ID on it? Does it have two-factor? What's the mobile experience when I log in? All that stuff means something to me, and it became more than just the interest rate.
Yeah, when you asked me, and then I think I said to you, they have a really good mobile app, by the way, Touch ID, and then you said, oh, two-factor. I said yes, and then we were just going back and forth on it. Must have been when you were starting to think about it. Like,
I did the whole thing
you
in
sent
like
me
an
this
hour.
other one, and it was like, oh, better rate. Maybe I'll look at it. But then you were like,
Well, it's also like there's a trust factor, and in that you have been there and used it for a while. That gave me, it was the extra punch. It's like, if you had been at this place for a month, I'd be like, maybe I'll try the other place just to try it. But like having a place that you like, that works with other stuff, ease of use is worth it. So anyway, I'm picking Ally or Ally Mobile. The app is pretty good. It's pretty basic, but I really think they did a good job on their web design. They did a good job on their app design. Overall, like, pluses. So, all right. Well, I will be on vacation next week, so no pod. But we've been knocking one out once a week. I even scheduled the one for when we come back, so that's there. So we'll do that. Until then, it's Justin doing his trailhead dance.
yeah.
And Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days.